morning, and I remember walking this part of the journey out with my late husband. We were given a gift. He knew that he would go and be with the Father very soon. And in that, he started preparing us and developing us. It's just so much more to our story. He had made a decision that he wasn't going to keep going into the hospital. He had took his position and his stance for healing. He had made a decision that either he was going to get healed on one side or the other, right? So we were getting to experience God and walk this out with God. So God can do anything that he wants. And I remember 2 years before, I think it was maybe right before we found out that his liver was in failure, that the Lord was telling me I would not have him long. Like the Lord was telling me that. And I was rebuking it because I thought it was of the devil. But the Lord was telling me that I would not have him long. He told me that. And I remember asking my uncle one time, I said, "Would the Lord reveal to you that somebody is going to leave you?" And he said, if the Lord so wishes. If the Lord so wishes. So the Lord was really, and I remember at the beginning of the year before he would transition, I said to one of my friends, I said, "I don't think he's going to be here much longer." I remember saying this, even though I had been praying, standing in faith. I told her that January, he would leave us that June. I said, "I don't think he'll be here much longer because all the things that he set out to accomplish, he is set out to accomplish." And she was like, "No, your faith. I've never seen a couple live more in faith than I have seen y'all live in faith. I've never seen a couple who's loved God more than you guys have loved God." And I was like, okay, I just don't think, I told her that in January. I said, "I don't think I'm going to have him much longer. I just do not think he's going to be with me much longer." He goes into the hospital and he's on the cardiac floor, and there, he's got congestive heart failure, and they put him on the cardiac floor. Well, as we are on the cardiac floor, he leads 2 people to the Lord. He's interceding and praying. They're seeing miracles on the floor. They were like, we never saw a miracle like this. Now remember what I told you about the supernatural strength, and remember what I told you about the miracle. He's leading people to the Lord. Well, in the part of this, he calls me to the hospital and he tells me, he said, "I need to tell you something. I need you to listen with my spiritual ears." And he says 2 things. He says, "Either I get healed on this side or the other side, but I'm not coming back in this hospital. We will not continue to live our lives according to medicine and according to the hospital," because Judah used to think Jermaine's office was the hospital. Like, he used to think hospital was his place of work. That's how much time we were spending in the hospital. 28 days, 21 days, ICU stays, like multiple deaths, while still in faith, believing for help. So he tells me this. I'm giving you an abbreviated version. He says to me, he says, "I'm not, either I get healed on this side or that side," right? He comes home and I've never seen him this healthy. He's not taking medicine. He's supernaturally strong. He's doing all these projects. He's cleaning up. He's getting all these things done. But the whole entire time, he's talking to me as well. He's reminding me of different things. He's reminding me where notes are. He's reminding me of people in the ministry. He's also calling different people and talking to them. One of y'all don't know my baby mama. That's what I call her. He calls her. This is how significant this is. He calls her. He's setting order, right? I found this out later. He's setting order. And he even calls her down. He says, because God had given us ministry. Read the launch. If you've not read the launch, go back and read the launch, right? This is how powerful God is in relationships. This is what it's like when love allows you to lead. He calls her down to the house to talk to her. And he says to her, he says, "She's going to need you to help in ministry. She's going to need you to help her. She's going to need you to help her in ministry." We had given birth to ministry, but I didn't even understand the facet of what God is saying. So all of these things are happening. He's experiencing a supernatural strength. A little bit later on, we were sitting one time in the bed and I was feeding him or something, because his body, after for a while it was good, and then April He didn't have that energy and strength any longer. But from February to April, he walked in a supernatural strength. He went to church. He prophesied. He gave a word. Like all of these things, he's getting closure with people. In April, his body has taken what it looks like a turn for a worse. Well, he's giving me instructions. He's doing this. All he's doing, right? He's doing all these things. He's in this cocoon kind of. And I remember one night I was crying and I said, "You're leaving me." And he said to me, "Can I share this?" He says, "I'm not gone." He said, "Baby," he said, "I'm already gone. My body just has not left here yet." That's what he said to me. He said, "I've already gone. My body is just not left here yet." And I boo-hoo. And one other time we were laying in the bed and I was feeding him, I think, or something. And because he had just got really emaciated. He went from 240 pounds to 220 pounds to 140 pounds. He was so tiny. My baby was so tiny. And I was in the bed and I was laying in the bed with him. And as I was laying in the bed, something weird happened to me in the hospital. He said twice my bed left from up under me. Twice my bed left from up under me. When we would get to the funeral, our dear friend Monty Manser eulogized my husband, and I knew he had to be the person to eulogize my husband. He says something so powerful. He says, "I know for a fact that if he left here because he and God had an agreement." It clicked in me. And the Lord began to reveal to me. When he was in the hospital stay in February, he really had already left. I'm pretty sure he asked the Lord to give him some more time to prepare us. I'm 100% sure. He asked the Lord to give him some more time. "Lord, give me some more time to go prepare my family," because that's exactly what he began to do. So from February, when he told me, he said the bed left from up under me twice, until when we would have the funeral, it would sink in my head because I was in grief. I had all these things going on. This man asked the Lord to give him more time so that he can prepare us. And when I tell you the Lord gave him more time so that he could prepare, and there was something he kept saying as he was making his transition, as his days were getting closer to his body going to be with the Lord. He kept saying, he said, every time I would do something, because I had never worked at this capacity, I was a behind the scenes person, and I was having to do all the front work for our nonprofit organization. I was having to go to these interviews. I was having to go to these meetings, all these things I had never done before. And as I was doing these things, and different things were going on with our sons, he would make this statement and say, "Just like the Lord told me. Just like the Lord told me. Just like the Lord told me." Right? So they had some type of intimate conversation with. When we got to his last painful day, he was in so much pain. I went to the doctor. I told him, "These are the medicines. I need you to give me Ativan. I need you to give me Toradol so that I can get him comfortable, so that his pain medicines can take effect." I get the prescription. I give him in the medicine, but his body is writhing in so much pain, right? His body is writhing in so much pain. And I look at him, I say, do you think it's, because he has not been to the hospital since February. I said, "Do you think it's time for us to go to the hospital?" He says, "Yes." I said, "Do you want me to call the ambulance?" He says, "Absolutely not. I need you to take me." So my sons get him, because he can barely walk at this time, and put him in the truck. His body is, you could tell his body is just kind of, it's going there. As we get in the truck and I'm driving, I'm holding his hand from behind, and he's riding, and I'm riding with him, and he says to me, he says, "Baby, I asked the Lord to bring me home. I'm ready to go home. I can't fight. I don't want to fight this any longer." Now, mind you, in between time, another conversation that we had was, I don't know what he knew, but this is what he said. He says to me, he's sitting in the bed, and he says to me, he says, "I've got to go." When I was telling him, I said, "You're leaving me." He says, "I've got to go." He says, "Because if I do not go, you will not go and impact the world the way that you're supposed to. You were created to impact the world, and your loyalty to me will allow you to take care of me for the rest of your life." I don't know if he knew that this thorn was not going to be removed. In the midst of this, he had accomplished so much. We have an adult clinic in sickle cell because of his legislative work, his act, all this stuff. There's so much to his journey, right? He accomplished so much he did with his time. He was so wise with his time. He gets to tell our sons goodbye, all of this stuff. When we get to the hospital and they're giving him some pain medicine, we are there in the middle of the pain. This is what he said. We get to the hospital and we go in. I got to tell you this part of the journey so you can understand the power of God. We go in and he's in pain. They're trying to access his arms. And I'm telling him, you're not going to be able to access his arms. You're going to have to access his neck. That's the only way. The nurse is like, ma'am, you don't know what you're talking about. You know, we're going to put, if you keep up being this upset, I'm going to have to put you out here. And I tell the nurse, I say, you will leave before I leave. You will leave before I leave. And my husband has locked eyes with me because he knows I will go there. And he's like, oh. And in this time, he's quoting, he who dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide in the shadow of the Almighty. He's quoting Psalms 91 the entire time. I need you to give you this to understand how powerful God is and true to his word. So as we're laying there and we're sitting there and I'm like, he's quoting Psalms 91. It's barely coming out, but he who dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide in the shadow of the Almighty. That is what he was quoting. That was what he was quoting the whole entire. So wait, after I say that to the nurse, he comes down and said, ma'am, do you want to see? He got calm because I was walking in my authority. I was not going to be moved by what they were telling me. And so he calms down. They give him one shot for pain and they get him calm. And he looks at me, he says, if you want me to, I'll get a blood transfusion. But he had already made his peace with the Lord. And I told him, I said, I would not be selfish. And I looked him in his face and I said to him, I said, if I had to do this all over again, I would. And I'm talking about this was some of the most pain I had experienced in my life. I said, if I had to do this all over again, I would, right? I would do this all over again. I have no problem with the assignment that God gave me. And he looked me in my face and he said, I know. Now, would you go get that ponytail out your head? Because he hated my hair in a ponytail and I just put it. He said, would you go comb your hair and get your pay? I said, the last thing you're going to say to me, because he was funny. I said, the last thing you're going to say to me is get the ponytail out my head. As we were making our transition into our private room, and he was praying over our sons. He was saying something about our son, Jaleel, and he was praying over him. And I just said to him, I said, Jaleel will be okay. And as we get into our private room, the nurse says to me, he was in so much pain. I could tell he was in so much pain. The nurse says to me, I said, I need you to give him something else for pain. And she said, because I could not, I made him turn his heartbeat. I didn't want to listen to his heartbeat. And I told him, I said, he's in too much pain. I need you to give him something else for pain. And she says to me, well, if I give him this pain shot, potentially this could kill him. And I looked in her face. I said, ma'am, you will not take God's glory away from him. I have seen him in this position, in this place before. If you give him this pain shot, he will not leave because of this pain shot. He will leave because of God. This will be God's glory. He will leave here because this is his prayer to God. You will not get. She gives him the pain shot. He starts to take his last few breaths, but he's still fighting. And I know that he's fighting for me. And I know that he's fighting for my sons. He's still fighting. And I look at him and he's still fighting to breathe. And I mine. And I say to him, I said, no, you will not do this. You will go be with our Father. Because this is what he prayed for. And this is what he believed. And he took his very last breath and he went to be with our Father. Every promise, every prayer you pray, it's all real. God is so real. So even if it doesn't happen, he will give you the strength. He will give you the strength to carry out the task. I needed to give you that. I needed to share that with you. I needed you to understand in my own testimony how exacting God is and how real God is. I needed you to get that. Every prayer is held, every prayer is felt, and God is so passionate. I love you guys so much. Yeah.